Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at this 2022 Ford Bronco Wildtrak with the Sasquatch package. Huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this SUV for me today. They have a massive selection of pre-owned inventory. Definitely take a look at their website. That is down in the description. The Bronco that you see behind me is finished off in Oxford white, and it has a starting MSRP just under $50,000. And as we move on to what powers this Bronco, there are two different engine options. This particular model has the 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6 paired to the 10-speed automatic transmission. It pumps out 330 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. That power sent to the rear wheels. However, this does have the four-wheel drive system. It weighs in right around 5,300 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds with a top speed of 123 miles an hour. And it has a fuel capacity of 20.8 gallons. You'll expect to see around 18 miles per gallon in the city and 20 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 116.1 inches. Its overall length is 189.4. It has a width of 75.9, a height of 73 inches. Its ground clearance measures in at 11.5 inches. And it also has an approach angle of 43.2 degrees, a breakover angle of 26.3, a departure angle of 37 degrees, and it can also ford through 33.5 inches of water. And as we move on to the exterior styling now for this all-new Bronco, let's start off with Bronco spelled out right in the middle of the gloss black grille. Now in all of the Broncos, those letters are finished off in white, so it's a perfect combo with this exterior white on this model. And it's also in line with the LED DRLs. You can see those running right through the middle. This has the LED lighting package, so it has the LED DRLs around the headlights and the high beams, and then the turn signals are also located in that horizontal strip. There are plenty of cutouts in this grille to provide a lot of cooling to that engine as well. And then this model even has the full bull bar that you can see going just above the lettering, connected to that steel front bumper. Now with all the exposed screws, you can actually take those out. So if you need to remove parts of the bumper, you can, but there's really no need to with how great this approach angle is. You can get a sneak peek at that suspension through those cutouts too, as well as most of that front tire. Now right in the middle is active grille shutters, which will open and close just to provide even better aerodynamics and cooling. And then there's a front tow hook on both sides. And then as we move up to the hood, the back section has a black accent, as well as having Wildtrak in the front of it, which is a great touch. There's also these front corners here, which you could actually attach cables to and run them to these access points just above the windshield. So if you're taking this off-road, you can have those so branches can hit them and make their way away from the vehicle. And they also act as a good spotting device from the driver's seat. So you can clearly place where the front tire is, as well as the passenger tire. They're just on the inside there, so that can give you a good reference. Pretty beefy design for this SUV. Now as we make our way to the sides, like I mentioned earlier, this has the Sasquatch package, which gives us 35-inch tires from the factory. This also has a set of 17-inch wheels finished off in black, have a pretty beefy design to them. And with the Sasquatch package, you get these fender flares too, which match nicely with the wheels and tires. And this also has the Haas 2.0 suspension system with the Bilstein setup. Like I mentioned earlier, you can get a good look at them from the front. Now these side mirrors are finished off in black trim. There's also the Wildtrak Sasquatch badge just underneath that. What's unique about these side mirrors is they're not actually attached to the doors. Obviously, since you can take these off, they are not connected. You can open up the door all the way and they won't even touch. So that's a pretty cool design. This model has the 4-piece hardtop roof. So there's 2 pieces for the front, the single piece running across the back, and then the entire rear section, which you can completely take off if you want to. And this model even has a set of running boards just to make it easier to enter and exit. Really nice side design with that line running right across the door handles, which are also finished off in black just to tie in nicely. And as we move on to the rear, this has a set of LED taillights with the full-size spare. The backup camera is right in the middle. The third brake light and wiper blade are just above that, so you do have a good amount of visibility out of that back glass. This has a steel rear bumper with all the parking sensors. There's a tow hook on that driver's side. The exhaust exits on this passenger side. And this even has a towing capacity right around 3,500 pounds. Now, just to mention briefly, the Bronco Raptor R has a towing capacity of 4,500 pounds. So pretty cool to see that that is improved if you go with that model. But with the exterior wrapped up for this Bronco, let's move on to the rear cargo, where you can lock and unlock this rear door, which makes it very convenient. And with that shock, it's actually pretty easy to open this up, even with that full-size spare. And then for the rest of it, we just have to pull on the glass and that will automatically go up. Now for this SUV, this has plenty of room with the back seats up. As you can tell, a nice flat surface to put in a lot of items. There's also tie-down hooks in all four corners with a small lasso logo that you can see on each of them. There's a little bit of storage over on that passenger side, along with a 12 volt. There's also some lights too. A little bit of storage space over on that driver's side as well. And then up underneath the floor, if I lift this up, there's even more storage with a drain plug. So you could throw in wet items if you need to. And then there's the spare tire tools and all of those if you need to use those. Now with the back seats folded down, there is a little bit of a step up, but you still have plenty of room for any items that you need to place in the back, making this a very practical family SUV to have. Now in order to close this up, all I need to do is swing the glass down, and then I can grab the end here, give that a good push, and we are all set up with the cargo space. So now let's make our way to these back seats, and you'll see the door panel has a great design to it. Now this model has the two-tone interior, which is really nice to see. There's a brushed trim piece on the grab handle, storage net in the lower section, and then brushed aluminum on the release handle. More of that two-tone on the upper section. Like I mentioned earlier, you can remove these doors, so there is quick access to remove the electronics, and then with a few bolts, you can easily take those off. I won't be doing that in today's video, but pretty awesome to see for this SUV. Now, as we move on to the interior, these seats have the same two-tone design, even with some blue stitching for some accent colors. And at 5'10", I can move on to the back seats where I have that running board and the grab handle just to help me if I need it. And with the front seat set at my height, I have a good amount of space for my feet and my knees. Right in the middle are the window controls. They are not placed on the door, and there's a few auxiliaries in the lower section, so that way you can charge electronics from the back seat. There's also storage pockets behind both front seats too. And I have around 2 or 3 inches above my head, so you could be taller than me. Now these back seats do not recline, so they feel like you are pretty high up, but it's still comfortable. So you could easily be comfortable in the back seats of this Bronco. And then as we move on to the middle, there is a small armrest that still has 2 cup holders if you need to use those. And then like you can see right here, you can fold this headrest just to give you a little bit more visibility. We have plenty of glass in the back, so you have a lot of visibility for this SUV. And up top, in order to remove this back panel, there's a latch on both sides, one in the back too, just above this crossbar, and then obviously 2 above my head. You can easily remove this back panel. You do have to remove the front 2 panels first, and this does have some carpeting on it just to provide you with a little bit more insulation, which is great when you're driving this down the road. Now, before we hop our way to the front seats now, this does have remote start. So if I lock the vehicle and then double tap this button, it will automatically start up. Really awesome feature to have. If I double tap that button, I can shut the vehicle off, and then I can use the key fob to unlock this. I can use the keypad just above or the driver door handle, which is great to see. Same design for the front door panel with the addition of lock and unlock. A little bit more storage space for that netting. And we have these same seats, which are automatic. There's the Bronco logo right in the middle there embroidered. All of those adjustments are down on the side to move these. And there is a grab handle for your front seat passengers with Bronco and some more of that blue trim. So it's nice to see it's not up on the A-pillar. It's very well hidden, but it's still usable to help you get in and out. And then looking at this steering wheel, it's completely covered in solid black leather. There's black stitching running along the inside. On this left side is all the cruise control settings, even the lane keeping assist and volume for the radio. On this right side is Bluetooth and voice commands. There's even some menu controls and these dials to go through that digital gauge cluster. Now in order to do that, we need to fire this back up. With my foot on the brake, that button is over on this right side, and we can bring this back to life. And looking at the gauge cluster now, on the left side is the miles per hour as well as the engine temperature, and right in the middle there's a massive LCD screen to go through a lot more info using those controls I mentioned over on this right side. So currently it's showing fuel level as well as miles per hour. There's the tach and the power distribution. If I scroll down one, there's the TPMS. You can also pull up some other vital gauges just to monitor all of that information. There's the turbo boost that you can look at along with oil temperature, look at the transmission temperature as well as battery voltage, and then all the way back up at the top is some off-road settings like pitch and roll and the degrees for the steering wheel. So as I turn the wheel slightly, you can see that adjust. Scrolling down one more time, we have pitch and roll in a smaller screen. Now if I click on these 3 buttons over on the left side, you can pull this up in a larger screen where we have the main menu. You can go into My View, which is basically a configurable setting to show all this information that you currently see, so you can adjust that as needed. There's the trip and fuel information. I can go into the off-road and look at the off-road status, some of the other vitals that I already showed. You can see all of this information. There's also the navigation along with phone. You can go into audio, even settings, just to configure everything and see some other information as you need to. Over on the left side of the steering wheel, all the way at the bottom here is the electronic parking brake, along with all the headlight adjustments, dimmer switches for the gauges. There's some more trim. One air vent is tucked in nicely between the grab handle and the gauge cluster. There's more of that tannish color running across the dash, with a little bit of storage space on the back side. Now this model also has the 6-speaker audio sound system, so you'll see 1 speaker at the base of both A-pillars and the windshield there. And then right in the middle, we have a few controls to go through. This has a front and rear locking differential, along with the trail turn assist, traction control, and the hazards. So it's nice to have all of those dials right there. And right in the middle, we have this touchscreen system where you can go through a lot more information. On the bottom section is basically all the presets. So currently it's on audio. I can quickly get to phone along with navigation. There's different apps to go into. This model does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's also settings that you can look at, some general information, just depending on how you'd like to set this up. And then if I go into features, you can even go into the driver assistance and monitor all this information, all of these standard safety features, which is great to have in this vehicle. And then there's an air vent on both sides of that. Working our way below that now, you can see power and volume for the radio. Tuning is on that right side. There's a few more controls in the middle for that, along with the engine start stop. And then all the climate adjustments are nicely laid out just underneath that. Now this does have a dual zone system, so you can adjust the driver and passenger temperature with these dials. You can even turn the system on and off with this one on the left side. Fan speed is right in the middle with all those other controls. And this even has heated seats, so you have those dials on both sides. And below that, there's a little bit of storage space along with an auxiliary in the back, so you can charge electronics. There's a Ford badge on this right side. And then looking at this leather wrap shifter now, there's a small Bronco logo on the back side of it. The release is on the front side, so if I pull on that trigger and put this into reverse, you'll see the backup camera up here with the guidelines. If I push on the plus arrow, now there's a downward angle. So if you're backing up to a trailer or you just need that angle, you can pull that up as needed. And then if I go all the way into drive, just behind that is the manual setting. So you can use the plus and minus on the sides to shift. If you're towing, you're taking this off-road, you can use those as needed. There are 2 cup holders on the right of that. There's also another grab handle for your passenger. So when you're taking this high-speed off-roading, your passenger has some grab handles to use, which is of course great to have. And then right in the middle, we have all the 4-wheel drive selectors along with the GOAT modes. And the acronym for GOAT is goes over any terrain. So using that rotary dial, there's a few different driving modes to look at for this model. So as you can see, there's normal, we can go into eco, there's also sport, there's also slippery, you can see mud and ruts, sand. The last one is Baja. So just depending on how you like to drive this, there's a few different driving modes with 3 or 4 for on-road here, and the rest are for off-road. So it's pretty cool to have all those modes. And then you can go into 4-wheel low, 4 high, even use the downhill assist control, which is basically cruise control for off-road. Behind that, we have all the window adjustments along with the lock. The mirror controls are just next to that. And for this center armrest, you can actually lock this, as you can tell right there. So it's a safe place to put some items. Pretty deep compartment with a small tray in the back, even some auxiliaries, so you can charge electronics and put those cables through. And then over on the passenger side, the airbag cover has Bronco stamped into it, which is great to see. And then the glove box has an ample amount of room for all that information. We'll take one last look at this interior. It has a nice design to it. And then quickly looking at the front roof panels, with all those that I showed earlier, in order to remove those, there's about 4 per side. It's a very easy process to do. And then right in the middle, we have a bunch of auxiliaries. So if you're using this as a work vehicle, you need compressors maybe so you can air down and air back up your tires, or hook up lights, whatever it may be. You have some factory switches, which is pretty cool to be able to hook up to. And then the dome lights are just in front of those. As we get behind the wheel of the Ford Bronco now, it's been a while since I've been able to drive one. If you're new to our channel, we went to the Bronco Off-Rodeo event last year and actually got to drive these probably 10 or so miles off-road, maybe even more, to really experience what this is like off-road. And then obviously I have some seat time behind the wheel of this on the road as well. I think this is a perfect SUV if you're looking for the blend between a smooth driving vehicle on road and one that is very, very capable in this stock configuration for taking it off the pavement. There are no modifications that you need to do to this vehicle to take it off-road. It already comes with these steel bumpers. We have the 35-inch tires, so you have that added ground clearance. You have the approach and departure angles, and definitely check out the off-roading videos that we made because we were blown away with how amazing this does off the pavement. I won't be getting in the dirt today, so again, check out those videos. But just driving this out on the road, it is a very smooth and composed vehicle. This is the second hardtop that I've been able to drive. The ones that I've been in mainly have had the soft top. So just depending on your preference, the soft top is going to be a little bit louder. The hardtop so far seems pretty quiet. There's a little bit of wind noise, but I do like how we have this padding here just to provide you a little more insulation in the colder months and to provide a little bit less wind noise. But one thing that I will say, if you're in a debate between the hardtop and the soft top, just know that with this hardtop, only the front two panels you'll be able to bring with you if you don't have any storage in the rear cargo area, because these are going to take up a lot of space. And then with the back one, it's one solid piece. So most likely you are going to be leaving that at home. So just know that it is a little bit more cumbersome than the soft top, which you can just open up and leave in the back so you can have that open top experience. But I like the look of the hardtop better. So I'm kind of torn between which one I would go with. At some point, I think I will buy a Bronco if I need an SUV and one that is capable like this. Now with this Wildtrak package, you pretty much have all the off-road goodies that you want. Front and rear lockers. The trail turn assist is a pretty cool feature. Basically that locks one of the rear tires depending on which way you're turning, so that way your turning radius is significantly reduced. If you're in tighter trail situations, that can be the difference between having to put it in reverse, make a couple turns, or just pushing that button and quickly doing your turn through the trails and keep moving forward. So that is a pretty awesome technology feature to have. Now let's put it into the manual setting here. We're still in normal mode right now. We'll give it a little bit of gas with this 2.7 liter. And we're up to speed. Now I will say the plus and minus here isn't the most responsive, but you're really using this just to hold the gear. So you don't need to be going through these like you're in a sports car. So it's adequate for the purposes of needing it. As we switch over to the POV angle, you can see what it's like to be behind the wheel of the Ford Bronco. You sit very high up, so it feels like you're in a full-size truck in a sense. Definitely very high up with the steeply raked windshield too. Gives you perfect visibility out of that hood. Like I mentioned earlier, you can see those endpoints on both sides. So that gives you a good reference, not only on the road, but off-road too. You can easily spot that passenger corner. And this is super comfortable. I love how it's riding with this suspension and even with these 35-inch tires. These are some all-terrain tires, but they give it a nice smooth ride and they're fairly capable off-road. Now obviously you could upgrade those if you need a little bit more tread and some knobs depending on what kind of off-roading you were doing, but these are perfect tires for the blend between the on-road and the off-road performance. Now as far as visibility goes for the rest of this vehicle, with a quick glance over this shoulder, look at all of that glass. There is a ton of glass both over the left and the right shoulders, so you really don't have any blind spots. And so we'll give this another acceleration, and not even quarter throttle, we're up to speed. So definitely plenty of pep for this SUV. But I think that's going to wrap it up for my walk-around review and test drive behind the wheel of the 2022 Ford Bronco Wildtrak with the Sasquatch package. Once again, huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this SUV for me today. Check out their website. They have a ton of awesome inventory to look at. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on our daily uploads, and I will see you all in the next video.